Goldlewis Dickinson is the first DLC character for Guilty Gear Strive, kicking off Season 1 with a brand newcomer to the Guilty Gear series. Goldlewis is the Secretary of Defense armed with an Area 51 coffin that contains an alien inside. He's capable of big damage and scary setups, but he definitely has his downsides. In this review, we're going to take you through his moves, his playstyle to see if he's worth your money, and to me, a good DLC doesn't necessarily have to be strong, as long as they're fun to play and bring something new to the game. Besides, the character just came out, so it's hard to say where he'll end up on the tier list. But a good DLC is more than how competitive he can be, which is why we're starting with the most important part of the character, the colors. They did a really good job with this character's colors. I think I like all the colors better than the original. And even the alien inside the coffin changes color when you select another one, so really good job on that front. Gameplay wise, this character may seem straightforward, and when you first pick him up, you definitely don't have to master all the 16 half circle motions of his special, but since there are a lot of motions to memorize, it's gonna take a long time to master this character. And he's also got some issues from the time I played with him, which might deter you from picking him up. First, he's kind of a slow character. He can dash, but his dash is slower than normal, and he does not have a double jump. He can only jump once, but he can still air dash afterwards. But this means that you're gonna be playing your game pretty close to the ground, and if you want to throw a jumping button, your timing has to be impeccable, otherwise you'll whiff most of the time. So super jumping is definitely a requirement to playing Goldlewis. That said, a lot of his jumping normals can hit the opponent as you're raising up into the air, so you can hit them with instant overheads if you set it up, and don't worry, Goldlewis definitely has ways to set it up. In fact, setups and damage seem to be his strongest points, with neutral and defensive options being his weakness. And that's mostly because of his normals. They're just not very good. For his punches, while they may look standard, they're actually not a great counterpoke tool. You can't chain multiple punches together, which makes it hard to confirm your turn. And there are other characters like this, but it always feels bad when so many characters are able to mash multiple punches. Soul can even combo from that mash, but I guess Soul is playing his own game. His 6P, the anti-air command normal, is fast enough to combo from punch or kick, but given how bad the range is, you really need to be in your opponent's face, making this route not as reliable as some other characters. This lack of range on the anti-air also makes it kind of a bad anti-air. It just doesn't have a lot of reach, and more often than not, I'm getting punched in the face even though I press the right button. He does have some special moves that can combo from punches and kicks, but once again, you're gonna need to be pretty close for that to happen, so overall, all of his punches end up being pretty bad. Even the jumping punch only hits once. His kicks, on the other hand, are okay. Standing kick is actually a low, and it reaches further than it looks, but his jumping kick is definitely the star of his normals. With a great hitbox, it can hit instantly upon leaving the ground, you can hit it as a jump in, or even use it for cross-ups, and both of his grounded kicks can also combo into 2 dusts just fine, after which you'll probably want to set up a drone for Oki. For slashes, the close slash has very good reach and plenty of combo options or block string options as usual. The far slash, however, seems like one of his worst buttons. Despite having good reach, it's very hard to follow this up with anything if this move connects. Same goes for his crouching slash, honestly. Good reach, but can be tough to follow up. And the heavy slash is really bad. The range on this is definitely not good enough for such a slow button. With better reach, it might have even made the far slash a better button, but it doesn't reach. Down heavy looks funny, and it's actually good. It doesn't reach far horizontally, but you can combo into this from a close slash, knocking up opponents, which can lead to really big damage, but it is mostly a combo button. The heavy button also has a command normal, which is forward heavy, and this is a long range swing that definitely has its uses, but a ton of downsides as well. It's easy to jump over it, and characters can also low profile it, completely avoiding the move even if they're close, but it can be a good pressure tool from the mid-range, and that's about it. Finally, the dust button, to wrap up his normals, has a really bad range. It looked like it would reach further, but it turns out it really doesn't. So all in all, my first impression is that Goldlewis has pretty bad normals. Do his specials make up for it? Well, maybe. He does have very good special moves, but I don't know if that's enough. Let's start with the big one, Behemoth Typhoon. Any half circle motion into heavy has him swinging his coffin following the angle of your motion. And each attack has different properties and works both on the ground and in the air, giving you a total of 16 different moves, making it impossible to memorize all of them. Fortunately, you don't need to. You can jump straight into a match knowing only a couple of them and get used to this move as you get used to this character, because he's still very viable just with a couple of these options. Personally, I'd recommend starting with half circle back. That's the fast one, it combos easy and it's true on block. And then maybe the overhead to change things up a bit and go for a mix. As you play matches with these two options, you'll start noticing that you're missing something. For instance, you're missing a low option. So after a few matches, you go to the lab and practice the low, and slowly get used to all these variations. variations. All of them cause the opponent to stagger on block and deal a ton of chip damage, which makes it scary to block Goldlewis for a long time. And in combos, this is your big damage special. It bounces opponents constantly, both off the wall and on the ground. It is a great combo extender, and it's the move that just gives Goldlewis players the most creative freedom. It's just gonna take a while for you to get comfortable with all the variants and using them in the right situations. And as far as the motions themselves, half circles are not the worst motions in the world to pull off, but I was still having trouble. They just didn't feel consistent no matter my timing. Turns out the secret is to hold the final direction as you hit the heavy button. Just don't let go of the final direction. If you do that, you'll be fine. But once again, Guilty Gear has some weird buffers and input minutia that I just don't understand. The rest of the special moves are super easy to comprehend. You have a drone that travels and hits the opponent with quarter circle back and the slash button. It's like Anji's butterfly, just way better. And then you have a full screen projectile with quarter circle forward and slash, which looks really strong, but it's not that hard to jump over it and punish you for doing it. So you gotta be very smart on when to use it. It's definitely not unga bunga zoning. Both of these moves get stronger the higher your security level is. That's the bar at the bottom. It's at level 1 when the bar is empty, it's at level 2 when it reaches halfway, and it's at level 3 when it's full. The drone gets upgraded and will travel further and do more hits the higher the level, and the machine gun will fire more bullets. So once again, pretty straightforward. Even though he has a bonus meter to worry about, that's not something you'll need to manage that much. That's not what makes him hard to play. The security level also affects one of his supers, so let's talk about it. Burn It Down shoots down a heavy laser from the sky after a small delay. With double quarter circle forward and the kick button, the laser will fire for a long time and deal more damage if your security level is higher. So it can go from just a fast laser that's easy to see coming and block to a real threat that just wins you the neutral. And then for his other super, we gotta talk about it. Down with the System is a reversal super. It starts invincible and the startup can be pretty fast, so you can even put it in combos. This is your normal super, so to speak. You can do it with half circle back forward and the punch button, the same motion as usual, and if you're close to the opponent, it plays a little animation with the drone exploding afterwards. If not, he'll just do the punch. Thing is, you can do this super with a full circle motion, and you'll get exactly the same thing, but then you can upgrade it by doing 2 or 3 full circles. So there's basically 3 levels to the super, and they all change depending on how far the opponent is to you. It's just the punch if it's far away, or it will follow up with a ton of drones if they're close to you. Now, doing 3 full circle motions isn't easy to pull off in a combo, but you can do it if there's a wall splat or on wake up, since it is a reversal super. It happens more often than you think. But overall, that's Goldlewis. First impression isn't really the best. I think his normals make him struggle a lot in neutral and take away some of the creative freedom in combos or pressure. He's a heavy guy too, so that doesn't help, but fortunately the Behemoth Typhoon restores some of that creativity. He's capable of big damage, the drone setups keep him in the face of his opponent with scary mix-up, and if he has meter, it can be scary to pressure him because of the reversal super, and he can bypass neutral with his other super, but for that, he needs meter. When I first picked him up, I thought half circle motions were gonna be the problem, so many of them to memorize, playing this character is gonna be a nightmare. But just with a couple of them, I was able to have some fun playing some matches, and slowly I got comfortable with more and more of those variants. The struggle came from his normals. The punches are awful, confirms are tough because far slash and crouching slash are hard to combo into, and this man does not double jump, which means he's always pretty close to the ground. I took double jumps for granted. Double jumping in the corner or to get around zoning, it's such a good tool. Moving with this guy against a fast character or a zoner is a complete nightmare. But hey, that's why explaining his moveset is important, because this review is more than me just saying if I think the character is good or not. You might identify with this archetype. This might sound like a fun character to you. Personally, I felt restricted, and when I played as Goldlewis against the Soul, you start to wonder why does everything work when you play Soul, and I'm over here struggling to link a far slash. I do like his pressure a lot, his O-key as well, and his combo routes are a ton of fun. They feel so heavy. That coffin has a good impact. It's so satisfying to connect with it, and he is definitely unique. He brings something new to Guilty Gear, and on that front, he's definitely a good DLC. But I don't think this is a character that I'll personally be playing. I love the lore of Goldlewis, but this is not a playstyle that I can have fun with. That said, that's only my opinion, and if you've played Goldlewis Dickinson, let me know what you thought of him in the comments down below. I didn't vibe with the guy, but you might, and I think that opinion is worth reading as well. For more Guilty Gear Strive, I highly recommend my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Globku. I stream every weekday, and I'll be picking up a new main character soon. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
The kiss of death.